Hi, welcome to a random video. I'm not going to do any fancy editing. No point, because I know this won't get a good reception. Because obviously I'm Mr. Controversial or something. I don't know why. I just seem to have these takes on games, and I think I finally realised why, and I'm going to talk about that a bit in this video. So, recently there's been controversies around Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, with the obvious one being Honkai gets a free 5-star, and Genshin you only get a free 4-star, maybe 2 actually, because of the amount you get from the anniversary rewards. And this just leads into where there's an obvious problem that hasn't been addressed that should be addressed. And it reminds me of how this compares to other games. So, let's start with Genshin Impact. The main issue at the moment is Genshin Impact suffers with the gearing issues and quality of life issues. Because the anniversary thing aside, the bigger issue is that players can't catch up, and if you're like a new player, you will really struggle with Genshin Impact, and I've realised this comparing my experience with Honkai Star Rail, because I stopped in 1.1 and came back in 1.6, and suddenly I'm so far behind I can't even do story content, and it's crazy. And that's an issue because of gearing. And in Genshin Impact specifically, you often have to do so much gearing that you have to overpower the things that you do. Like in story content, I'm currently fine because I've played for 3 years. So we're on the 4th patch. But because I've played for that long and managed to get enough characters and gear, I've been able to succeed in most of the content, including Spiral Abyss, which is the endgame content. And that's almost a breeze for me now. But that becomes an issue for other players because it's on an expectation that they have to do this, and because it's there and it rewards pre-run gems, players feel they have to complete it as the incentive is there. And I sure do, because I want those pre-run gems, to be honest. And that's also a problem with the gacha model, which not a lot of people will admit to for some reason, so not a problem. So, yeah, this also ties into the quality of life issue with Genshin Impact. How... just remember something else. But how the quality of life sort of ties into it, because parts of the endgame can be difficult due to the quality of life issues that are there. As in, there's a lack of quality of life. And even though artifact loadouts are being addressed now, which immediately makes Genshin Impact a recommended game from me, it's still far from perfect, because some of the big issues are still there. Like, we still need shield health bars, we still need to see skills on cooldown and whatnot, and even ultimates for that matter. There's just so much critical information missing from the game that shouldn't have even been a thing to begin with. And even then, like, if you compare it to Honkai Star Rail, we've still got a long way to go. But we still need a way to get a guaranteed artifact thing with a guaranteed stat, because there's so many artifacts you have to grind with good sub-stats that it just becomes ridiculous. You can't do much. As a result, I've actually started using my 5-star artifacts as a leveling thing, because I get so many bad artifacts that it's just pointless. And I'm talking as an AR60 player. Well, I'm at the end game. I'm getting Mora? Yeah, Mora. I'm getting Mora for instead of XP, and yeah, I'm actually rich enough in the game that I don't really need to worry about Mora. It's fucking crazy, but I know when you level up, when you start these games, you do need to get a lot more, and that's a bit annoying. I think that needs to be removed, just as a quality of life feature. I think Mora being a thing that dictates whether you can level a character or not is ridiculous. there aren't many games where you have to grind currency, so it's a bit stupid to have it in this day and age. Like leveling materials I can get, but currency I don't really get. So it's silly at this point. But this ties into another issue I just remembered. Obviously with like rewards like the 5-star in Honkai Star Rail, it's obviously there to create a distraction. It's there to make the player base say, oh, good Hoyoverse, getting good now, which isn't true. It's a distraction, and obviously people are feeding into that, which isn't a good thing. And if Genshin were to do the same, we'd still have the same problems. So it just goes to show that there's much more that needs to be done at the core. Which leads into the Honkai Star Rail issue. Just everything I've mentioned with Genshin's gearing system and endgame exists with Honkai Star Rail as well. And that obviously needs addressing, but I found that I've not enjoyed the game as much because I have to gear up so much that I can't even begin to see where I am in the future. And also when I'm playing the story, I'm constantly worrying about it. Like, even though I can clear content now just about, I just worry about like the bosses and stuff. Like who's gonna fucking roadblock me now? I remember with like I forgot the name of that lady one. I don't know, but basically the latest 2 world bosses I've struggled with. And I can just about auto battle like the True Sting boss. But I require support for that, which isn't so bad because the support system is good. But that should be universal. That's the thing. If you want players to be satisfied with the endgame content, give them a fucking thing that works with it. That's the point. Give them a puzzle to figure out that if anyone could do. And that's why I hate the fighting club thing as well, with the cycles. Like when things are timed or just, yeah, when things are timed and not based on like endurance and stuff, that's when the game isn't really fun. And the same goes for Genshin Impact as well. Like some of the enemies are ridiculous. I remember when Spectres came out in Zuma, they had too much health and they were so hard to hit as well because they fly. And only later on did they nerf it. Same with like knights and stuff. But not knight samurais. Same thing though. They were just so hard to beat and everyone was complaining, and luckily they changed it. But you have that issue in Honkai Star Rail now. And it just gets tedious. I can't beat a Memory of Chaos properly because for some reason my characters aren't good enough despite having level 10 traces and fully maxed artifacts, no relics, that's what they're called. So again, it ties into that issue, and this is why this game design is so outdated, and at the core of these issues, which I'll go on to later, is satisfactory. Like, are we satisfied with these things? No, we're also not. So that needs to be addressed. We need to have a way to do these things that is realistic and expected. And like, just think about accessibility purposes. Like, I have a learning disability, obviously, called learning delays, and I probably have another one. I'm yet to be tested for that. But I struggle with Honkai Star Rail, which apparently, quote unquote, a lot of players don't, and even primary school students don't. I'm just sitting there like, what? Then what am I doing wrong? It makes no sense to me. It ties into that toxicity issue as well, which I'm also going to go into, I think. I'll write these down. But the toxicity comes from a lack of satisfaction, and it comes from the hardships, and then that creates divide. And also, when these games appeal to younger audiences, that's an issue in itself. Because now we've got these younger people who admittedly can be smarter, can be nicer, but are usually dumber in another sense, like they're not communicating, communicative, whatever. There's a bunch of different issues, and that ties into these problems. I remember when the first Golden Apple Archipelago in Genshin Impact came out. I remember I was struggling with Margu Kenki, the new boss, and how you couldn't really beat the challenge because of these random hit things which were bugged. And like 90% of the comments were all about my damage as D-Luke, who I'd only had for about 3 or 4 months by then and still couldn't get good artifacts. And they were just saying, like, you're doing poor damage and, like, you're a noob or something. I don't even know. The post is still probably there. It's a deleted account now, but yeah. Just all the comments comment on that sort of thing, and it's just, you just don't want to play the game at that point. Like, it's so shit that you're being beaten up for not being ahead of everyone else. And that's a sign of bad game design. And the same applies to other games, and this is why I bring in the comparisons. I've seen this in games that I've played and not played, like Team Fortress 2, this happens because people are not satisfied with the balance of the game. At least most of it anyway, because there's parts of it which are not fun, like you got the bots and there's no like counter system. There's no cycle that you can go through to counter them. I'll just counter everything else out. It's just ridiculous, and as a result, someone who knows their class too well will absolutely destroy the game. I've noticed this when I played Soldier on there. I've just never seemed to die pretty much. It's pretty much impossible to die to a normal attack, but a crit attack I can die. It's not even frustrating at that point, it's just, it makes the enemies frustrated, for that matter. I've had countless stories where people rage at me for that, and that's the problem with the game. The fact there's no easy accessible counter to a class is a problem with most games anyway, especially ones that you have a big time sink into, and I have 5k hours in TF2 for the record. I think 5.6k now. Then there's another game, like League of Legends. I haven't played it for sure, but the divide is created by the lack of balancing in terms of matchmaking, I think, and also the competitiveness. You've got players who are casual, who like the characters and like the gameplay, but you've got players who play it just to look good, I guess, to be competitive with each other, and that creates problems. It also reminds me a bit of like football, I guess, in real life, because you have people who are like die-hard fans of it, and they end up getting violent and just dumb over the most trivial things, and it just makes you think, if this is what games do to people, then should we even have games at all? Damn, that's deep. Anyway, another game comparison is World of Warcraft. I liked WoW's gameplay. I just hated the gearing, and I didn't really like the story too much later on anyway. Because I think World of Warcraft has a lot of potential. It's certainly better than TF2 in a lot of aspects, but it has a lot of FOMO as well. And the toxicity comes from how players are not satisfied with the game. There's a lot of imbalance, and also players just don't like that the classes they resonate with or feel most comfortable with can end up being the most useless, and it just gets bad from there. And with like Mythic raiding and Mythic Plus dungeons and stuff, that creates even more divide, and as a result you've got one of the most toxic communities out there. I haven't personally observed it, but I think I'd go as far as to say it's more toxic than League of Legends. It's literally that sort of community. And I kid you not, once on the forums, when talking about FOMO, I was talking about how you should be able to get previously deleted items from the game, not deleted but unobtainable, by doing the same thing as like a feat of strength. Like say you need to get like a platinum and competitive or something. That's fair. that should be obtainable, but also I don't like those conditions, but it's still a better middle ground than removing it. And then someone commented on it saying like this is about prestige, and I asked about what prestige meant, and they said it's like when you're in a Lamborghini and you show it off. What? Like, to me, that's just asshole. It just spells asshole to me. Because it just shows you're such a tosser that you have to fucking rub your greed in people's faces. It's just completely dehumanizing. And it makes no sense to do that either. Because nobody really cares about skill anyway. All that people should be caring about in games is having fun. That's really it, and that's the problem with a lot of these games I'm talking about now. But on the flip side, you have a game like Final Fantasy XIV, which I wasn't actually going to talk about because I didn't think about it, but because it's there, I will. I only played it briefly, and I can already tell it's a pretty decent game. For an MMO, and anyway, it's really good. And I actually want to play it again someday. And the reason it's so good is because it respects players' time, and also gives them a chance to get proper gear. It's not even a competitive game at that. And as a result, there's a lack of toxicity. It's actually worrying how little toxicity there is. And then you look at a game like Deep Rock Galactic. It's a Deep Rock Galactic is pretty much a masterclass in live service games because it does so many things right that players don't have a reason to get mad. And when they have got mad, the devs actually respond and do something good for once. It's just complete stark contrast compared to all these other games. Like Season 4, people were not keen on the corruption thing as a mechanic, so they didn't want to play it anymore. And the devs added a button to literally opt out of it, which shows them less, I think. And that was such a good change that players literally commended the game, and it's just made the game so much better as well. And also it's a game that doesn't expect much of you, so you just take your time with it. You take your time to learn, and as a result I managed to rack up about 800 hours in it in just 1 year, which is insane. It's unprecedented actually, because I don't play games that much anymore. But it just goes to show that when your time is respected and developers listen, you end up getting so much good out of it, and the community. There's no like gear scores, there's no FOMO either, because all the things that are removed at the end of the season, they get put into a loophole of like a cargo crate or a backpack. And as if that wasn't good enough, the game has fucking modding support. And it's just like, wow. Like, this is one of the best games of all time. I actually wonder if this is my thing, but whilst it still has issues with its gameplay, like the Coloc torrency, which also showed the toxic side of the community, which I hadn't seen before, it's still a great game other than that. It's just like a labour of love that no other game really is. So it's really something that's incredible to look at and experience, and I strongly recommend it. For some reason it isn't my best games of all time, so I'll put it there. So yeah, that's compared to other games. So really the conclusion is that with Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, they could be so much more. I wouldn't consider them single player games because they're always online, and that's an issue itself. And it won't stand the test of time as a result, because you just go down the history as a live service that failed to be shut down. That's just and like things could be so much worse as well. That's the other problem. And we've got so much to worry about in the world right now that players end up getting toxic and getting underneath each other's skins because of these issues. And you know, if I can go onto Honkai Star Rail's Reddit and make a post asking for help because I find the things too difficult, and then I get toxicity for it, and I don't know. Like, it just shows there's so much wrong with the game. Really, you can only hope for the best with it, but at the end of the day, it's a decision on like who versus part, and honestly, there's like a philosophy I've created myself because I've noticed it in real life as well. A lot of actions have consequences, in fact, pretty much all of them do. And if you're doing them with the most consequences, then you're not doing it right. It's as simple as that. Because the actions with the least consequences are the best actions possible. Because I don't think you can completely avoid it. And that's really the crux of it. Really, the only ways to fix Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail is to implement a massive change, like stop making the gacha a thing, or start making artifacts easier to get, start adding better quality of life, those sort of things. It would be able to remove equilibrium level. So yeah, I'm interested to know what people think, because this is a big issue with these games. I want to love them, but at the moment it's just like in between, like mixed views of it. So yeah.